What's up, y'all? It's T-Tar, and I want to talk about a conspiracy that might be unfolding on Blueberry Academy. Of course, in these DLCs, something has to go down, so I want to bring your attention to this. In Area 0, there's a symbol you can find in one of the grassy areas. There's no indication of what this is, only that Heath also discovered it and wrote about it. We don't know what's up with this symbol, but I wanted to share an idea with you guys, which is that this kind of looks like the terrarium in Blueberry Academy, which are 4 quadrants of a dome. You see, at a glance, just to explore this idea, what would that even mean? That these are ancient blueprints left behind and Cyrano figured it out and is trying to build something? You know, as if there's something underneath the terrarium. We always have fun making this guy suspicious, don't we? What if he's just a good man? See, the two don't fully line up, but it is interesting that they're comparable. The same people who left that slab in Area 0 must have left this as well. It's just proof that there was some civilization that did successfully come down here before, contrary to the lore told to us in the game. The lore told to us is that like 2,000 years ago, there's an ancient Paldean king that tried to order people to go into Area 0 to find the treasure, which means this treasure's been spoken about for a long time, but no one actually ever did. They only like scratched the surface, and it was only 200 years ago that Heath and his team made it to the bottom. But when they make it to the bottom, they find hints that someone already made it here. That's the cool part. So we can look at Heath's notes for this. Here's when Heath found the symbol, and we know exactly where he took the photograph from as well. He climbed up the same hill, probably on a cyclizer, which can't fly. He says a photograph of a spot where the survey team rested on day 2 of the expedition, which this always freaking confused me. You know, I imagine Area 0 so grand, like the size of a small town. These guys made it to the bottom in 2 days. What, are they playing a Pokemon game? This should have taken you 2 months. On day 2. Now, if I remember correctly, this is a cave you can access before the crystal area. So they're like halfway through Area 0. Well, I guess if they spend like 14 hours each day, then this is around 30 hours of full exploring in, which I guess is pretty realistic. I just thought Area 0 was much bigger than that. Note the strange symbols inscribed in the ground here. Were they left by explorers in the time of the Paldean Empire? Or could they be older still? So this is possible. I mean, we know the Paldean Empire's people made it a bit in. Maybe they made it halfway in and left these symbols. But still, the way they're left, it's like some technology was used to like burn them into the ground. Or something was built on top of this and the structure's gone, but the floor still shows hints something was built here. Regardless, they seem as if they must hold some meaning. This is the key, right? This is in the game. They want us to think about this meaning something. Another thought is that, let's say the Paldean Empire is the one who left these symbols. Another well-known idea by this point is that these symbols could be hinting the location of where the Ruinous Pokemon were sealed. Something like when you line this up on top of the map, that each of the 4 triangles point to where the Ruinous Pokemon are sealed. And we know the Ruinous Pokemon have a story of some greedy king who got them and ended up bringing ruin to that king's empire. But the game never outright says it's the Paldean Empire, and since the Ruinous Pokemon are named Chinese names, I would like to think it's like from a region we don't know. Like the Reggies, they've just been brought down and sealed in our region, so we consider them legendaries in Paldea, but they don't have their origins in Paldea. So I guess if we want to go by a Cyrano idea, you know, Cyrano was old friends with Clavel, who we know went to Area 0 with Sada and Turo 10ish years ago. Maybe our old gang found these symbols too, they must have, and Cyrano learned more tidbits about it than he let on, and he went on to make Blueberry Academy to make these blueprints come to life, if they are blueprints. There's nothing clear I can really see in it, so look at it as literal as possible. All we have is 4 circles laid adjacent to each other, only 2 sides of a triangle in each circle that rotate counterclockwise, and then there's a square in the middle. The triangle's moving, kind of feel like time or something, but it's flowing the wrong way. It should be rotating this way. And then what the frick is the square supposed to mean? One thing I do notice is by looking at the center of this symbol, the square overlaid on the circles creates the same diamond pattern that's in Terapagus's eye. What does it mean though? I'm just giving you guys stuff to think about. The other symbol found in Area 0, the slab, Heath saw it too. In fact, the way Heath saw it 200 years ago is different than how it looks to us in Area 0. Here's this photo of it. Mysterious plates. He saw this tablet stuck in a wall somewhere. And another tablet here as well. So what Heath did is, you could even see it in this picture here. This is the size of Heath, and this is how he saw it. It's actually blocking some cave entrance. So what he did is he picked up the tablet and he laid it on the ground. And that's why we find it in Area 0 just on the ground. He wrote some notes on this and wrote some notes on what he found in the cave, it looks like. And when looking at some gameplay of me finding Roaring Moon, this looks like the same cave entrance that leads to that grassy pattern. So these two are connected. Whoever was here before Heath stuck this slab in the wall to cover the cave. There's no way that slab was accidentally forged in there, unless something in the cave like exploded and stuck the plate out. But it looks like abruptly people were doing things in here. They had this unscratchable slab, another slab, and then inside this cave, that grassy pattern. He writes, mysterious plates. During our descent into Area 0, we came across a buried metal plate inscribed with the strange symbol. This symbol to us looks like an hourglass, but that doesn't get us very far too. Another way to look at it is if this is the past and this is the future, then this is the two intercepting here. Maybe it was some ancient person's dream to also create this paradise. But obviously these are crack ideas. We have no direction to go with what the game hinted to us. We attempted to shave off a piece of the plate but failed to even leave a scratch. Even determining the nature of the metal seems beyond modern science. We know not why the inscription was made, let alone how. The people who are here before us had technology we don't. They were able to scratch it. They inscribed stuff on it. Maybe even that grassy area inside is like the remnants of a research lab from ancient people who are working on stuff in there. As frustrating as it is, it's really fun that Game Freak gave us a bunch of open mysteries in this book to think about, especially now that we're approaching that DLC release date. So here's an idea, right? Clearly ancient people had technology we don't, right? Now this would be a weird twist to have in this game, but remember I always say if you take time travel out of the equation, that Pokemon Scarlet still makes sense. That dinosaurs could have survived in Area 0 and Heath spots them 200 years ago still roaming, but Pokemon Violet doesn't. Because that needs time travel for future Pokemon to come. And to somehow end up in Heath's era is kind of confusing. But one interesting idea is if both the future and the past Pokemon are from the past, are from this ancient civilization. Only there's two different pasts. There's one past where they enhance Pokemon biologically, that leads to Pokemon Scarlet. And there's another past where these ancient people enhance them cybernetically, and you get the future Pokemon found in Area 0. This allows both of them naturally to have been spotted by Heath 200 years ago, depending on which past we come from. And so maybe when Heath moves this block, what he finds is the lab that they were made in long ago in Area 0, probably with Terapagus's help or something. We're just gonna assume however the Paradox Pokemon were made was with Terapagus's help, which means once we know the twist of this game and we look back at the games, we'd realize both Scarlet and Violet are about the past. Hence why we see remnants of some super technology, which also plays a role to some of the coding in this game. There's Atlantis written everywhere in the game's code, as if that's the region's code name, which is why Blueberry Academy is interesting, because they're literally underwater like Atlantis eventually goes. It sinks at the end of its life. But Atlantis was known to have extreme technology, which is something we see in the games today. The Terra Shards feel like something, if we wanted to counterpart with Atlantis, opens the doors to that technology. Atlantis had the knowledge of this rare ore called Orichalcum and the knowledge of science and how to work with hadrons, these small particles, to make these great inventions. So it could be that the ancient people who left these behind for Heath to find were essentially the equivalent of Atlantis, and these were their last signs of life before everything crumbled. And so maybe Cyrano, when he came down here 10ish years ago, found hints of this, and that's why he made Blueberry Academy. He's trying to find something evil like Terapagus's location, or the location of a hypothetical home for Terapagus, which goes to the Dragon's Palace idea, which is that wherever we find Terapagus, its home would be in a place where time moves very slowly. We've gone a bit deep there, but the base idea I was trying to share here is if somehow both games are actually about the past. I'm not sure I like it, and besides, it doesn't answer how they're called Paradox Pokemon still. Like obviously when Heath runs into these Paradox Pokemon and a culture writes about them, they made up everything they wrote. Jigglypuff from a billion years ago, the only life on Earth was these things. These multi-cell idiots. Not that we have to get scientific, but we know the entries are made up. Somehow they have to end up as paradoxes. And we don't know just how involved time travel really is. But yeah, back to this video. Here's a clear look at that symbol in the grass. More clear looking, it's shown like this, where you can't even see the square anymore. It's just counterclockwise moving triangles on circles. Oh shoot, you know, if there was a square, it would be like this. So in spirit, it's still there. I wonder why it was excluded. But yeah, we have the symbol in the grass, the tablet they found blocking the cave, and then the last two symbols. The symbol was initially only something told to Heath, somehow in a trance, but it ends up being the location the time machine is built on. At least it seems like. But even that, would Sada, this is the question, right? Would Sada and Tora have somehow built that place where you go deep into the basement and there's crystals everywhere? Or does it sound more like this is a third piece of an overall puzzle or blueprint that has to do with the ancient people, like a blueprint to remake their technology, or like the location of their ancient lab? When you put these four together, it makes more sense Sada and Toro discovered that already existing crystal room rather than that they somehow made that room. And the same probably with that time machine, you know? So that makes a third thing that was here in Area Zero before Sada and Toro got here too, and probably before Heath did, this time machine room. In fact, it would sound more believable if Sada and Toro actually repaired that already existing machine with the knowledge of putting these four together, rather than actually discovering all this time travel stuff themselves. But yeah, if these ancient people left these, I just don't know why Terapagus is given the visions of the equations. And then a selfie of himself. I guess we don't know it was Terapagus. But yeah, okay, back to this. So Sada and Tora used the first three symbols as well as the fourth symbol, which I don't even think this piece has popped up properly in the games. Yeah, you can see it in Sada's whiteboard and Toro's, but I think this symbol maybe will make a proper appearance in Blueberry Academy. That's just the feeling I get. Seeing it on the whiteboard is more like a hint that Sada and Toro uncovered it too. These are the main four symbols we have to think about. The four new ones we get on the DLC covers, they're pretty self-explanatory. It's just like Ogre Pawn on the top left, the Loyal 3 on the top right, Blueberry Academy on the bottom left, and that looks like Terapagus on the bottom right. I mean, especially now that we saw the 18 type crown, that looks exactly like it. So these four symbols aren't too relevant. It's the original four that means something. And especially when these four symbols are worn by Briar in the DLC and she's just walking around like a walking book, clearly they mean something, and maybe Briar knows of who these ancient people that lived in Area Zero are. You see, since the history class in school does teach us that 900-ish years ago the academy started, and about how the Paulian King tried to send people into Area Zero, maybe they'll expand back on that. And it's a simpler idea than we thought. Maybe just around 800 years ago, there was someone who made it to Area Zero before Heath, and they're the ones who left all this. And also maybe the ones who end up starting Uva and Naranja Academy. Or it could lead all the way to a crazy idea where it is like the equivalent of an Atlantis, group of people that were technologically advanced. Whatever, I'm just giving y'all crap to think about. Make sure y'all shank that like button. Let me know your theories in the comments. We are 6 days away from the DLC. We're gonna have new info to talk about once we finish playing that, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.